Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the Lenovo S8. The S8 was released more than half a year ago and I never got to actually review it. I have it for like more than 2 months now, just never got to it, but I still think it is a very legit budget tablet. Why? And if it's still worth it, we will see in my full review. So let's just start with the design and build quality. First of all, on the front it looks very nice. Nothing going on here, very clean, minimal, just the Lenovo logo and the cam. And a nice thing to see, stereo front facing speakers. On the back we have this bright yellow, but let me tell you one thing first. There are different colors available. I had also the black one and this yellow one, but I can tell you personally I would recommend the yellow one, even though if you maybe don't like the color so much, because the black one had this soft touch rubberized that looked very nasty and also just didn't feel sturdy. We have a way more solid plastic here, and it is also way more grippy than the black one was, and it just feels more solid and overall. So that's why I would say the color of course is a different thing, but just in terms of build this makes a way better appearance. As for the ports, real quick, on the bottom we have the micro USB and the microphone, a little bit of an odd placement but still okay. On the top we have the headphone jack. Here we have an SD card slot. As you can see here, there is also a SIM version if you maybe need 3G or something like that. Here, this is a little bit flimsy, but it's actually quite okay. As for the buttons, these are probably the worst buttons I've ever used, because you have no feedback at all, especially on the power button. You won't know if you have actually hit it until the screen turns on. And this is so frustrating because you really don't get any feedback, but at least they work, and that's the pretty important thing. Here we have the flash and the cam. It's actually odd to see a flash on a tablet, but still. Otherwise, I just think it looks really nice. As you can see here, quite small bezels. That's absolutely fine for a 7-incher. It is also very thin, and like I said, it does maybe not really bend, but it does sometimes squeak a little bit. But I think it lies really nice in the hand. This material is very nicely done. So nothing to complain. So in overall, I really like the design. It is thin, compact, feels great. The buttons aren't the best, but I think they've done a great job. So let's take a look at the display. And this is actually the next part I like a lot about. It is okay, maybe not the brightest one. We are at 100% brightness. It is not the brightest one, but indoors and in your home, it will definitely be more than good enough. As for the white point, I have to say one thing. I had 3 devices, the review unit and 2 that I recommended to other people. This one is my brother's ones, and I also recommended one to my colleague. And I had all 3 side by side. I had 2 ones, which one of this is one that had a really nice white point, ever so slightly on the yellow side. And the third one was quite obviously too much on the yellow side. So it maybe is kind of a quality control thing what you get. If you get the one with the really nice white, you get a nice, it is still slightly yellowish, but on a really pleasant way. As for the resolution, we have 1080p on 7 inches. I think personally this is totally good enough. Of course, if you have more, it's nicer to see on Android, but this does a more than fine job, and it is a budget device after all. As for the blacks, let's quickly check those. I think they do a probably nice job, and probably, I mean most likely a nice job, because they are very deep. It maybe loses a little bit of details due to the not best contrast, but still totally fine. Colors are really okay, I would say. They are ever so slightly dull, muted, but in normal use you won't really notice it if you don't have a really saturated device side by side, because the colors are more true to life and more accurate than they are maybe overblown or something. As you can see here, it looks very natural. So they've done a quite nice job. Also, the viewing angles, they are very stable. Of course, you won't see it as well because of the lighting here, but let me tell you one thing. The sound, I mean the video, is done really nice. You can watch videos really nicely on it. It is bright enough. Colors are good. The white point is really nice if you get the proper one. So for a budget device, this is a more than good enough display you should actually expect. So let's check the sound. Okay, the first great thing to mention is we have stereo front-facing speakers, so that's always a plus. The only thing that I could maybe not complain, but say it is on the weaker side, is the maximum volume. It could be a little bit higher, but therefore the good thing is you don't have to reflect it, you have to hold it awkwardly. Using it on a desk or in mid-air doesn't make a difference because the sound is already getting to you. The sound itself is quite nice. Of course, not a whole lot of bass, the mids are okay, but a very clean and clear sound, which is important. And you also get the Dolby software where you can adjust a few things. You should take use of it because without of it, it just sounds way too flat. It doesn't make the biggest difference. So you adjust a lot of things, but you don't hear a lot of difference. But it is enough to make a difference in my opinion. And the sound is actually totally fine. Like I said, I would just wish for it to be louder. So let's check the performance now. Here we are in a Twitter app and you will already see how extremely nice and smooth this is. We have an Intel 3745 that just works well. As you can see here, let's go into this app for example. Of course, no article is loaded. Let's just wait a second here. Actually, I did prefer one, but still. Okay, let's go into it. And as you can see here as well, very smooth, no problems here at all. And since we are having KitKat, you have maybe one benefit of not having Lollipop because you don't have the multitasking issue. There is no memory leak. As you can see here, all the even older apps load just fine. Sometimes, of course, this one wasn't in the RAM, but you have the benefit of a quite good multitasking experience. The performance itself is also very nice, as you can see here. And yeah, that is fine, absolutely fine, more than just fine actually. It is maybe not quite Lollipop smooth, but therefore, as you can see, the multitasking is really, really good. Also the browsing performance. This is one of the best browsing performance I've seen, not just for a budget tablet. It just works fine. Also, let's quickly get into a game, just so you can see that. And while it is loading, I will just say it. I think the performance within the system is absolutely great, absolutely fine. Nothing to complain here. One of the best actually I've seen, and it doesn't matter if it's a low budget tablet or anything else. It works, and that is important. Not quite Lollipop smooth, that's maybe the one gripe I have, but like I said, therefore no multitasking issues, no RAM leaks, no battery issues, and also the gaming performance is absolutely great. As you can see, mostly completely smooth, and I never had any trouble with not playable frame rates. It was smooth, not really any slowdowns. As you can see here, this works fine. One thing I noticed though, the screen, since it is quite warm these days, does tend to dim. That is just one thing to notice, and I just noticed it today because when I used it 2 months before, it didn't happen because right now here in the studio, because of the lights, it is very warm and the screen will actually dim a little bit. It is a little bit sad to see, but if you aren't in the hottest environment, this shouldn't be this, because I'm actually sweating. It is really hot right now out there. So just real quick for the performance, really, really great performance, not Lollipop smooth, but also no problems, pretty much no lag. Very great browsing performance and all the usual tasks you would like to see, like browsing, social media and everything, that works super great. Okay, let's get into the battery life. A full charge takes about 3.5 hours, somewhere in between that. The battery life isn't the best. You get a solid, I would say, 4 hours over 1 or 2 days. So that's not really great for a tablet. So if you don't use it too much, it will do a job just fine, and you have to just think about it. It is a budget tablet, but I think the main issue of the not that great battery life is the Atom chip. I had the one on, for example, the Dell Venue 8 7000, which had an amazing battery life. That was a way newer generation of Intel chipsets. This one is more compatible. You will have less issues with app compatibility and so on due to the Intel chipset, but the battery life just isn't the best. As for the software, let's check that one real quick. Here we have the lock screen, not going on much here. Here you have the quick settings, not really changeable. And as you can see here, yes, it is a little bit dimmer, but you don't have an app drawer. That's the one thing. You of course just replace that if you want it with Google Launcher or Google Now or with Nova Launcher, but otherwise that's maybe the one possible downside. We have 4.4.2. There's nothing wrong with 4.4.2. You don't have 4.4.4, but that is still okay. But don't expect to get an update on this device. I didn't expect it, and that's one thing sad to see. But otherwise, it is a very, apart from that, stock like Android experience. You don't get anything extra, like maybe just the sound options and a few things, no app drawer and so, but you have to see it like this is a budget phone and will never get an update. I don't expect it to get the Lollipop update, but maybe for a budget device that's not that bad, because you have therefore a very solid KitKat experience. No multitasking issues, no RAM leaks, and everything works nice. You don't get the Lollipop features, and you don't get this little bit of boost in terms of Lollipop performance. But see it like this, if you would maybe have on board default out of the box a Lollipop that doesn't work right, you have memory issues, you have stability issues, you have bugs, and won't get ever an update, then I think it's maybe the better choice to just stick with what you have, stay on the stable side, stay on the solid side. So that's why I'm getting to the recap right now, because I don't want to drag it too far. Design and build quality for this price is absolutely great, very solid, just done great. The display for this price also very, very solid. It's a really nice display. Of course, it is not the best display out in the world, and it can't compare with a $400 device. But in this price region to up to $200, absolutely fine. Sound, not the loudest, but it gets the job done good enough, and it sounds actually quite good. Performance is maybe the highlight, because the Intel chipset, same as on the Acer Konya Tab 8 already, is absolutely flawless. It is very smooth, very consistent, even though with just 1 GB of RAM, multitasking was working very nice. It is maybe not the most zippy device, but I think also, and that leads me to the battery life, the Intel chipset isn't optimized for battery life, because I think it uses turbo boost way too much. Therefore the performance is great, but it suffers in terms of battery life, because 4 hours of screen on time, maybe a little bit more if you don't use the highest brightness setting. Yeah, that's the thing. As for the software, it is super solid, it is super stable, but it is outdated. If that's important or not for you, if you only want the basic stuff to get done, I think it doesn't really matter on a tablet if you have Lollipop or not. And that's why I'm getting to the part, would I recommend it? And of course I already did, maybe you heard that throughout the video, but this is my brother's one, and I already recommended one to a colleague of mine, because the value is just great. They paid like 150 euros for it. Usually it costs about $190, $200, and for 150 it is totally solid. Great display, good sound, great performance, just not the best battery life, but it gets all the basic stuff done that was important for them. They wanted to do their social media, they wanted to browse if they need to sometimes, and the battery drain in standby was also fine. So yeah, there's just not much you could expect. Maybe something like the Nokia N1, once it is actually going to be released, will be a better value. But as for right now, if you get it for a good price, it is definitely a very, very nice tablet, and that's all I can say. I did recommend it. That's actually something very important, because actually I also reviewed the Acer Konya Tab 8, which I also recommended back then, and that was actually the first tablet one of my colleagues had. But once I showed this to him, showed him some of the things I found to be better, because the display, the sound was slightly better, and the better design, and he said, yeah, I'm going to return my old device. He could actually, thanks to Amazon, do this after 3 months of use, and he got this, even saved a lot of money, and he's very happy with it. The only thing that isn't up to his preference is the battery life, but it gets the job done for him as well. So really, really nice device. Okay, that was my review of the Lenovo S8. If you have anything else, just let me know in the comments. Okay, bye.